there's been, positions created and funding devoted to learning how to, studying how to overcome environmental related adversities, with the intent of hopefully helping more community members thrive this summer, as opposed to, fearing for their safety or for their lives. And we as community members have also learned just how much power we have individually to create the changes that we want to see. We've learned that we can't rely on our elected leaders, especially living in outer East Portland. We know that funding doesn't reach us as easily, and that we have to constantly keep advocating for ourselves and for our needs. And I think we've been able to kind of move from a place of disempowerment to a place where now we feel like we have each other's backs, even just knowing our neighbors better and knowing what they're facing and where they live and what their day-to-day life is. I think we've all become more aware of how we can individually make a difference. And like for our organization, we've joined forces with others and just started showing up more at the park with supplies that we've collected from where there's a surplus in our community, whether from other community members or businesses, right? Like even just water or food, snacks, safety supplies. And just showing up and distributing them more in the community, so that kind of becomes like the new normal, where we're sharing those resources with each other. We know where those resources are. We know we can access them. We know we don't need money to access them. And that becomes a little bit more of the norm, as opposed to only doing those things in a situation of crisis.
Resilience shows up on different levels. So people in their individual sort of lives and their personal selves and their households being resilient means sometimes just showing up and talking about what's going right and what's not working, and continuing to commit to each other and the work, even when it's really hard. But once you start looking at resilience on a community level, any ways that we're connecting and providing resources for each other that aren't just for right now, but actually invest in the future. That's a lot harder. And I see people doing it every day in their families and in their organizations, whether they're paid to work there or whether they're volunteering. So the organizational growth that we've experienced this year has given us a window into a lot of new families and new people, and how they're handling kind of the current situation. And then our big question is, since it is such a hard thing to get through the day for a lot of people, or through the week, what does it look like to build capacity so that in the future, when things are even harder, probably, we individually and collectively have the resources to handle those disruptions?
I say resource sharing. In working in the garden space, people share produce when it's overly abundant for the group of people who are using it more directly. I would say organizational wisdom, cross-cultural wisdom can be exchanged too. There's a generosity there. And to me, that demonstrates resilience because of the historical trauma that is active, but yet people are showing up, having conversations that are difficult, oftentimes painful to have. But I do feel like in this space, people are doing their best wherever they're at, and it's a well-held space so that people are feeling safe, it feels like.